Welcome back, and it's time for our tech slot now. And this week, we zoom in on organized financial crime and money laundering, which made headlines after a recent Al Jazeera investigative report uncovered a large-scale money laundering operation in South Africa. The scheme is alleged to have relied on forged paperwork and documentation, including ID documents and passports, as well as fake invoices from fictitious suppliers. This follows the country's greylisting by global financial crime watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, for not fully complying with international standards around the prevention of money laundering, terrorist financing and proliferation financing. Although money laundering happens with varying degrees of complexity, the crime often relies on elementary acts of forgery, such as stolen or fake identities and falsified company documents, addresses and contact information. To tell us more, we're joined by Managing Director at Searchworks, Samir Kumandan. Samir, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Now, just start by outlining the landscape and industries affected by money laundering.
Yes, so money laundering can affect many industries. I think anybody that's dealing with money can be affected by it. But the main ones we've seen in South Africa is with the banking institution, where criminals are opening up many bank accounts across different banking institutions on different company names and depositing small amounts of money so they are not detected by banking authorities. And that's where they're starting to launder money through the banking system itself.
Now, Samir, what's the role of accurate data and robust KYC and perhaps KYB checks in fighting financial crime?
Yes. So if you use the example that I just did with many companies being opened across different banking institutions, if you have a proper KYC and KYB process in place in your business, you'll be able to find linkages between the different companies. So as an example, we have a KYC report that shows you directors of a company, but it also shows you directors of, or which companies they're also directors of. So if they are directors of 10 different companies, it will highlight that to you. And therefore, data is extremely important in identifying who you're dealing with and what the business, or the businesses that you are dealing with.
How then can organizations train employees and sort of leverage technology to dismantle money laundering networks?
Yes, so it's extremely important that businesses have in place a proper onboarding process and employees are trained on that, but not only onboarding, but throughout the vetting process. And also you have to revisit your clients on a regular basis, maybe every 6 months, and ensure that the documentation that you have on file for them is up to date. And with technology, you have available data to you that you can bring along inside or put it together with your onboarding process and your vetting process to ensure that you are looking at the correct data and that the data that you are presented with is not fraudulent. We also have the technology like facial verification or ID book checks that you can go and look at the person, look at the ID book, bring you back the latest Home Affairs ID photo if you require that as well, so that you accurately find data that can help you make sure that you are dealing with a legitimate person and that these people also do not have ties to criminal organizations across the world.
And how can we better understand the FIC Act and its compliance requirements?
Yes, so I think the most important thing is that you need to understand whether you are an accountable institution or not. And on Schedule 1 of the Financial Intelligence Center Act, there is the list of all those companies or industries that are accountable institutions. And it also details to you what you need to know and how you need to ensure compliance with the Act itself and ensuring that you are not exposed to money laundering.
And I see that there's an increased appetite amongst banks, of course, to go beyond simply flagging suspicious activity for compliance purposes. Yes. So how then do we and the consumers play a role?
Yes, so we as the consumers, I think the banks, obviously after the latest, I think there was fines that were issued out to the banking institutions. They have tightened a lot. And also not only them, I think the accountable institutions like attorneys, estate agents, all of those industries have also now made it requirements that the FIC compliance is complied with when you are dealing with individuals or companies. And us as consumers, we need to ensure that We have the latest documentation that these industries need to ensure compliance with it. We also need to, I know it's going to be a little bit more onerous on the process itself. Through attorneys, you need to supply additional documentation, or even the banks, but we need to ensure that we are compliant with this because it is a requirement for all these institutions to do that.
All right, Samir, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That was the Managing Director at Searchworks, Samir Kumandan, speaking to us about organized financial crime and money laundering. Let's now take a quick break and we'll have a chef shortly after.